Whenever I have to sign up for a new account and pick a display picture or avatar, the answer is always pretty obvious to me. Boromir, from The Lord of the Rings. Oh, Josh, you're a Lord of the Rings fan? I never knew that. Yeah, that's me. I'm that guy with that meme, one does not simply. It's one of the best scenes of any movie. The fellowship gathering together, all to decide with what the hell do we want to do with this ring? And after lots of infighting, temptation, the greed of man, yada yada, the scene ends with the unexpected. It's the smallest of creatures, the hobbit, Frodo Baggins, that says, I will do it. I will take the ring, though I cannot do it alone. We all love a classic story of good versus evil, and there's always the hero in every journey. But we tend to romanticize the hero in the hero's journey, when really it takes a lot more. I mean, that's why it's called the Fellowship of the Ring, not Frodo and his very, very long hike. Took a fellowship to bring the ring to Mordor. Luke needed a rebellion. Harry could do literally nothing without Hermione. Men, am I right? It's the illusion of the hero's journey, that individuals are the ones that accomplish things, when really it's the hero and their friends. We need more friends. In life and, well, in business too. And we've got some pretty large challenges in our organizations. Frodo-sized challenges. What the hell is L&D going to do about skills? That is such a monumental shift in organizations that you could argue it's outside the realm of L&D altogether. And we also tend to struggle with these seemingly insurmountable challenges all on our own, like it's our burden. But there's no way any of these things are going to be accomplished in isolation. Let's face it, until we bridge the gap between L&D and the business, what is expected of us and more importantly, what we're capable of will always be muted. But if we're going to face these challenges, these pretty big challenges, we're going to need some friends. Let's go assemble the fellowship. Hi, I'm Josh. I'm an enterprise leader with over a decade's experience helping some of the world's leading organizations transform how they view learning. And welcome to Digital Learning Done Right, a place for learning leaders to get the mindset, motivation, and meaningful action to go out there and live their best L&D life. If you like sarcasm, snark, and sage advice, you're in the right place. Ready? Well, actually, we can't go yet because we have to wait for this right moment in the music. It's all very dramatic. It feels very good. Anyway, I think we've filled enough time. Let's get going. We've all got our triggers. At work, in life, some rational, others not so much. Mine is my neighbor who doesn't know how to recycle properly. That's a cardboard box, Mike. Where do you think it's supposed to go? And at work, I think we all share a common one. That one triggering invite we get a few times a year with the subject line, new project. And then you look down the invite list and it's everyone from the department. And there you are. Maybe if you're lucky, your colleague as well to represent the training folks. Oh, we know what this is. We've been here before. We're like the IT crowd sitting in the basement, waiting for our training order to arrive via mail tube, or even worse, assigned to us on our LMS. And all of a sudden we've been summoned. It's a high tension meeting, mostly because we're not really brought into the conversation. Instead, we're just sitting there, imagining our best Will Smith at the Oscars energy, waiting for the next edition of The Purge. Whoa. Hey, remember, friends. This is democracy, not Die Hard. We can't all yippee-ki-yay mother trucker our way through these interactions. But meetings like this are a perfect encapsulation of the rather large disconnect between L&D and the rest of the business. It's a micro moment in a very macro trend, and it's this moment that we need to try and fix. So let's focus on 3 things we can do to better bridge this disconnect. Step 1. Get better at understanding the business, its priorities, how it operates, and how it looks at you and your team. I read a lot of industry reports, and let me summarize the last 10 years or so of what CEOs have been asking for this entire time. outcomes, measurable results, level 4s. Every CEO is looking at L&D and saying one thing, impact, and we're all like, have you met completion though? We need to get more serious on impact, but you can't truly bridge a gap between a business outcome and a learning outcome without a joint effort there. So we all need to do a better job of investing in the business. Just because you don't work with the numbers or directly with the end product doesn't mean you shouldn't know what it's made of. It'll actually help you better understand your own role and how it fits into the grand scheme of things. Here, let's do a quick business acumen lesson right now. All businesses are made up of cost centers and profit centers. Profit centers are things like sales, and cost centers are things like payroll. The goal of the cost center is to support the profit center, because, capitalism and all that. And from a senior leader's perspective, you're always thinking about, how do I use my cost centers to help me better support my profit centers? So us, L&D, typically a cost center, are always in service of these business units. It's not learning problems or training solutions. It's just problems and solutions, opportunities and seizing them in the best way possible. This is why we need to work on understanding the business in the broader context. You don't need to have an advanced business degree. You just need to raise your baseline acumen so that when you're starting to make some friends, you've got some lingo, some common vocabulary to speak. Frodo and the Fellowship all had one thing in common. They all wanted to destroy the ring. Well, most of them did anyway. But you're going to have a much better time getting everyone to speak the business rather than wasting your energy trying to get people to understand L&D. Start with the simplest of questions. How does the business make money? What role does each function play in making that happen? Then you can start to get into the nitty-gritty, like, are there any knowledge gaps preventing that from happening? Skill gaps? Resistance to something? Lack of awareness? Misalignment? It's such a better way than saying, so what do you need a training on? One of the biggest skills L&D is missing is business acumen. It's not that we need to consult on the business, but think of business acumen as actually your tool for empathy. And you don't do stakeholder management without a good strong spoon of empathy first thing in the morning. Learn how L&D should look at the business, and learn how the business looks at L&D. It'll bring focus to your role and give you confidence in that next meeting. Step 2. Stop being so insular and tactical. We need to work on our perception of L&D to the rest of the business. Hey, look, I love your use of triggers. I love that you found a way to hack your authoring tool, solve those exporting issues. It's all really impressive. And maybe we just don't need to mention that so much at our next review meeting. Sometimes we just gotta check our dirty habits at the door. It's a very L&D thing for us to be tactical. I mean, I've literally seen customer RFPs built on the request of, hi, can you help me make my Excel management better? I'm sorry, what does this have to do with learning? We're all really passionate about what we do. I get it. But that needs to be grounded in the larger context. In the workplace, learning is a catalyst to business outcomes. And sometimes we just need to speak that way. It doesn't stop with training. The goal isn't accomplished if you get a 4.7 on your satisfaction scores. We just need to stop being tactical 24/7. Because the more tactical we get, the more the ball is punted to our side to simply execute with little context. And we know how frustrating that can be. Another way to do this, just stop talking about learning. Here's a little experiment to try at your next meeting. Don't say the word learning. In any manner. No learning goals, no learning objectives. Don't even think about saying training. Just run this experiment for a little while and see how the conversation changes. I mean, you've been working on this great business vocabulary. Take it out for a spin. This is a situation where words really do matter. From the invites you send out to the language you use in meetings, pay really close attention to how that's being perceived. We don't need to change who we are, but don't underestimate how much the perception of L&D's capability plays in terms of what we're actually being asked to do. Step 3. All right, so you've raised your business acumen, you've stopped some of your dirty little habits. Step 3 is profit, right? Wrong. We're connecting to the business here, not running a pyramid scheme. Moving from an order taker to an order maker just doesn't happen overnight. And you need to earn your right to do that. You're going to need to build some street cred. And I'm not talking about Michael Scott from The Office kind of street cred here. This is where you need to start showing the business what you're made of. Start by doing the hard work no one else wants to do or cares about. Case in point, measuring success. Want to see how quickly you can get an invite declined? Title it Measuring Success Brainstorming Session and watch the tumbleweeds blow. This is usually a conversation that loses momentum really quickly. And so, why don't you take the first crack at the metrics? Do the hard work and bring it to that next review meeting. It's easy to say, well, it's on them to tell us the metrics so we can line it up to the training. But trust me, no one is really good at this. It's a vulnerable conversation, and someone needs to show up with more vulnerability than the other. Orient all your stuff towards impact. Find explicit connections. Doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be progress. And while you're doing this individually, also do this as a larger team. Have more department-wide conversations focused on these big questions. When was the last time you had a meeting with the agenda, how do we create more impact? Have you ever had such a meeting? Here's an exercise for your entire L&D department, something you can do at your next offsite, but not on a boat. Remember, we don't do these things at a boat. At your next offsite, take your company's annual report. Look at all those priorities and build a massive flippin' spreadsheet, linking all those priorities to everything you are doing that requires money, which is everything. Have no idea what you're doing? Perfect. Just get started. And when the time is right, bring in all your new friends that you've been working on to help you fill in the gaps. Until you've mapped a learning asset to that highest priority, your work is not complete. Tell your organization you're on a mission to do this. It'll surprise them. And here's the bonus tip. If you can do this, you will never have to worry about budget again. Because once a CEO has published their priorities, they will put all sorts of money towards making it happen. Have more team huddles, department-wide meetings. Start within your realm of influence and show the rest of the business that L&D is making a concerted effort to have more business conversations. A lot of L&D folk think they need to stay in their lane when the business is talking. No, you don't. You just need to know how to swim. Because let me tell you, nothing leads to innovation more than someone else looking at your unique problem. Ultimately, depending on who you are, this is actually a really big ask, because this is way out of our comfort zone. But growth happens outside of your comfort zone. In organizations, and actually just in life itself, learning is just a catalyst, a pathway to a goal. And we're just a stop in a journey. But how can we be a meaningful stop if we're not connected to the journey as a whole? Understand how the business works. Stop being so tactical and insular, and show the business your true capability. We've got some very big mountains to climb. L&D in the next few years kinda depends on it. But it's going to take a rebellion, an order of the phoenix, a fellowship to make this happen. Connecting to the business in a meaningful way is how you supercharge L&D to create more impact. You just need to start making some friends, assembling the fellowship, and asking people to come on that journey with you. We can do this. You can do this. But every hero needs their friends. For Frodo. That's all for today. If you like this, tell a friend. Or better yet, as part of your new friend-making strategy, make a new friend by telling them about this show. Want to continue the conversation? Come find me on LinkedIn or go to digitallearningdoneright.com for more. Next time, we'll talk about blind monks, tire temperature, and an accessible way to make story a natural thing in your organization.